Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat on the end. I might have to do that again because I don't know if you guys heard me in the very intro. Okay, let's do that again. Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat on the way in. Okay, there we go. All right. So I was sent this by a Mr. BGS Import, right? So we will be covering Dr. Clara E. Mate and her book, The Capital Order, but really her lecture on the book, The Capital Order. I gotta order this. I gotta get this because this was really good. It goes to something that many of us suspect, particularly on the left, but I would argue brothers on the right might have also suspected this. We're just getting more and more confirmation about this. Uh, and I've actually spoken directly to this. Maybe that's why BGS sent me this, which is the elite choking you out through economics, right? And shout out to also Rogish, who he read my title for this video, and exactly it is gangsta economics, right? Um, and so what we know more and more, and what we're finding out more and more, is that the elite are using economics not for money, but for power, right? Which is not so much a revelation as much as it is confirmation, right? So that's the very important part to stress. It's not really revelation. It's confirmation. For many of us, we feel vindicated, Mr. Z. For many of us, we feel vindicated, right? Me and Obsidian may not agree much on politics as much, but something he said that I'm definitely using more and more is I'll just state what I know and I'll wait for the facts to catch up to me, right? You know, and so that's why I titled this "Gangsta Economics." Um, and it is economists, some politicians, definitely the business realm using economics to regulate the working class, right? And this happens before Reagan, before Carter, before Clinton, right? Okay. Oh wow. Okay. 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 All right. There we go. There we go. We're back. We're back. We're back. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Trell. And Trell said, Z, you sound off. Thank you, Trell, because I was about to make the same mistake I made a little while ago. So let's do that all over again. Um, and thank you for that once again, Trell. Thank you for that. Right. I was about to be looking sick out here again, like I did a couple weeks ago. Okay, so hopefully now we get an HD sound. Okay. Um, this is me speaking about Dr. Clara E. Mate and her book, The Capital Order, right? Um, and I titled this video Gangsta Economics, right? Because what she essentially shows us here, going back decades, right, between World War I and World War II, and a little bit before World War I, is economists, bi- um, politicians, and definitely men of business using economics to regulate working class people, right? Now she uses the word appease. I know she means pacify, right? Because English isn't her primary language. So when she says appease, um, I know she means pacify, and that's why I I watched this video when BGS sent it to me a couple of days ago. But I left this up because I wanted to give people a chance to check out the video. If hopefully you guys did. If you didn't, just check it out after the fact. It's about 2 hours long, but it's really really good. And so I'm gonna play a couple of clips back to back that pretty much illustrate her entire lecture, but I think these are like the most succinct points of her lecture. um and both of them happen within the first 20 minutes, give or take. But this clip right here pretty much says it all. And let me get to it, give me 1 second, yo. And this is the first clip, right? Okay, so let's play this one first, and hopefully you guys can hear it. Let me know on the back end if you guys can. If you guys did. Appears clearly is that this emergence of the expert as this unbiased
above class, truth, owner of the truth, came hand in hand with a very classist ambition of disciplining the population by using economics as this apolitical weapon that could tell people you have nothing to contribute here because you're ignorant, you're stupid, leave the economic sphere to the expert. We will tell you what is good for everyone. And with monetary austerity,
Right. So that was the first clip. That was the first clip. We'll get the second one ready. But yeah, so that first clip says it all, right? Leave this to the experts, you dummies, right? And now, what do you think? And assuming that the experts are unbiased, assuming that the experts are unbiased, and the experts essentially tell you, leave it to us, you big dummies. Now, what do you think the experts are really about? They're powering their money. But what does that mean for the rest of us, right? I would like to direct y'all to the '08 housing recession and the talks of too big to fail, right? And Obama essentially telling the heads of banks, I'm what stands between y'all and the pitchfork, and we can see who he sided with, all right? So just things to think about, right? So let me play the second clip for you guys, and then we can be on our way. Here we go.
and with monetary austerity increasing the interest rates, which in Britain caused a recession. So this is the whole point: is that it was known that the increase in interest rates would cause a recession, but this was kind of somehow politically intelligent because it caused an increase in unemployment rate, which of course meant that, and this I have all the graphs show that this meant a complete appeasing of industrial arrest. All these strikes stopped because of this increase in unemployment rate. And this is Michael Kalecki telling us clearly that the disciplinary mechanisms of increasing unemployment is what guarantees the end of the questioning of wage relations and the acceptance of lower wages. So while in Britain what happened was that
So using economics to discipline working class and regular people, knowing that the raising of interest rates will cause a rise, a more likely recession. That's the whole point. And unemployment. Once again, that's the whole point. And they're doing that to check you. That sounds pretty familiar, like right now. Doesn't it? Right? The young millennials, the Gen Z that are like, yeah, we don't want to go back in that crap ass workforce. And I'm saying, oh yeah, watch this. Right? And we could tie that to everything. You could tie that to the relationship between men and women, black men and black women, right? Raising interest rates to purposely cause a recession as a disciplinary measure, right? Because a lot of us were pretty hesitant to go back into the office or to go back to work after this COVID recession, right? Well, if you're an economist, how do you discipline the working class? How do you, let me say it very clearly, make them bow to you? Right? How do you make them go back to work? Right. I would like to direct y'all to Anand Girgadas, in his book I think this book came out a few years ago, Winner Takes All, and he spoke to Jamie Dimon, right? And Jamie Dimon was copping pleas for all these elite a-holes that got people peeing in bottles like Jeff Bezos, and all these horrible work conditions, and essentially sounding like what elite, they don't want to work and they don't want to do this and they don't want to, exactly, right? These type of economists, these businessmen, they're not just using their wealth to get rich. It was never about that, right?
BGS kind of stole my thunder last night because that's where I was going with it. He said it too. But yeah, it was never about the money is a means to an end. It's not an end within itself, right? This is about regulating the poor, right? This is about regulating the poor. This is about regulating the working class. And as I said, so I always had this theory and I've said it, but to have it confirmed that we were doing way too much protesting and rioting and marching and you know all of this people were doing in the 60s and the 50s, the 60s, the early 70s, and the elite class decided, yeah, we're going to choke them out. And so contrary to popular belief, they took the money off the table. That way your son can't protest because he can't afford to protest because you can't send him any money. Oops. For better rights for black people, for workers' rights, for labor rights, etc., etc. Right? That's why all of us have had a professor saying, "Yeah, when I was in college, I was able to pay off college in a summer." And yet, university now has outpaced the cost of living by how many times, right? Right? And let's be very clear, COVID changed the way many people think because we got to see the government throw money around when it needed to, right? All of that, the private sector will fix everything. Even Mark Cuban had to say, yeah, nope, yes. The arrogant a-hole Mark Cuban himself had to say, yeah, this is a job for government. For the first time, I'm realizing business, we can't marshal the type of resources, right, that the government can. We just don't have it in us. And this is a billionaire talking. The billionaires were like, yeah, about that. Yeah, we have to kind of admit for like 2 seconds right now when we don't know what's going to happen with the world that we don't we don't got it. The private sector don't got the answers. Now, a little while after they started copping pleas and saying, yeah, we could work with the government, government and business partnership, right? But in the thick of it, yeah, they had to admit, yeah, we don't know. They're flexing their power through economics on working class for no other reason but to tell you to bow down and stop asking questions, right? Stop asking questions, stop pushing, accept these lowly wages, these horrible work conditions. You lucky you got AC in your buildings, right? And so if economists were saying that a century ago, what do you think they're saying now? You think it's changed now? And this is before Frederick Hayek. This is before Milton Friedman. What you think they're saying now? Right? Wait, we could see what they're saying now through action. We could see what they're saying now, right? Through the past 40 plus years, 50 years of economics, train tracks, train tracks, train tracks, right? Y'all can't look at Timothy Geithner's face and tell me you don't see a slime ball there. Yikes. Right? Alan Greenspan looked like a whole toad from the sewer. These people, these slime balls, are who. And one of the best quotes I've heard when it came to relationships between men and women, and I think Zoe Williams said it years ago. This is in the teens, right? In the early teen, like 2013, 2014, something like that. He was like, we got economists telling us what the definition, what love is. or something along those lines. Zoe said, right? Something along those lines. Zoe said, and I thought it was it was a perfect quote for what we're actually living. And you wonder why your women, white, black, Latina, Asian, or otherwise, that live in America, sound like elite white male a-holes. Well, right? This is about labor relations, right? And another quote that she uses is, austerity is not about stabilizing the economy, it's about stabilizing class relations and labor relations. And by the way, to my brothers on the political right, this is not about um going after you or attacking you or any y'all are not these people. Y'all might wish y'all were these people, but you're not these people. You don't have the access, you don't have the wealth, you don't have the power or the influence. Right? And you are subject to being on the wrong side of these people's power and influence also, even if you wish you were them. Right? But I just want to make clear this is not about attacking you or your particular worldview, but it is stating the facts, though. These are the facts. Right? And it's stating the very obvious, but now that we have the economists and the historians pretty much telling us the truth, they're using economics to regulate. Once again, economics is a social science anyway. We talk about economics like it's a hard science. It's not. Just because it has numbers does not mean it's science. There's theories in there. There's people that's thinking about things and talking about things and debating things. It's not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2 just because it has numbers involved. Economics is a social science. I want us to always remember that. Right? There are different ways to reach prosperity, and these people decided to do it the most selfish way humanly possible, the most step on those other people's neck way as humanly possible. Once again, Anand Girgadas, winner takes all. Trail, I can't click it right now, but Trail said Alan Greenspan looked like the troll off of Lord of the Rings, off of Golem off of Lord of the Rings, doesn't he? That's actually a better description than what I thought. That's good. That's good, Trill. He does. Right? He does. But I definitely wanted to bring this to y'all today, because this matters. This affects your relationship with your friends, with your parents, with your children, with your spouse. Labor and class relations. That stress sitting on your shoulders. That I can't miss a day at work. The being petrified of even when you consider being fired, being let go, being laid off. Why? Better use it, precious. Exactly. Right. And I need to watch Lord of the Rings. I haven't watched it since I was a child, and when you're you may not grasp all the nuances, all the little messages and everything like that, right? I need to rewatch the series. It's gonna take me like 3 years, but because those movies were long as hell. But now we know more and more. This is what it's about. Flexing power. And then claim we didn't have a choice. We had to raise interest rates, right? The banks are too big to fail. We had to choose between the population, right, and these handful of banksters, and we chose the banksters. Don't you understand? It was more important that we choose them over you. They make the world go round. You don't, right? As botched as Occupy Wall Street was, they had a point. They just didn't have a message. Oh, oops, right? They had a point. The message was what? Too busy not having leadership, too busy not having a hierarchy, right? You can have the hierarchy and the democratic situation going on at the same time. They just refuse to have a chain of command, and it just disbanded. It's easier to destroy it after the fact, right? This is where you get the 99% versus the 1% conversation. This is where you start getting Mr. Z speaking about the professional managerial class, the petite bourgeoisie acting as a buffer class for these elite people that don't give a F about them either. They just act as like the police for class, which are still working class, but are used as the buffer class, right? And let me try to play the first clip again real quick. Give me 1 second. Let's see if I can play it before this light turn green. Uh-oh. All right, there we go.
Appears clearly is that the emergence of the expert as this unbiased, above class, truth owner of the truth came hand in hand with a very classist ambition of disciplining the population by using economics as this apolitical weapon that could tell people you have nothing to contribute here because you're ignorant, you're stupid, leave the economic sphere to the expert. We will tell you what is good for everyone.
As a tool of discipline. As a tool of discipline. Right? And once again, so this is something y'all have heard me say this, particularly about black women, sisters, like when it comes to them being educated. This whole idea of the unbiased professional or the unbiased expert is a bunch of BS. It's always been. We assume, I don't know where we get this idea from, and it comes from both the educated class and the uneducated class of people, that more educated people are less biased. Says who? They're more objective. Says who? They're less prone to anger, they're less prone to aggression. Says who? Who makes this assumption that because you have a 4-year degree, or you went to grad school, or you have a PhD, or you're an attorney, or you're a doctor, or that means that somehow you're less biased, right? You don't have an agenda, maybe agenda that's harmful to the masses, right? When y'all heard, anyone ever watch an interview with Milton Friedman, old bum ass? The smirk on his face when he would speak about economics and essentially regulating the poor, right? Margaret Thatcher came out her mouth and told you there's no such thing as society, and half the population in America and in Britain ate that up, and in Canada and across the English speaking world. A good half the population ate that up. There's individuals and families. There's no such thing as society. Y'all ate that up. Right? And so now here we are, 50 years into the counter-revolutionary movement. Shout out to Pascal Robert. Right? 50 years into the counter-revolutionary movement, and we're here now. Right? This is truly what neoliberalism and austerity is about. This is why your children, even your non-black children in America, your poor, your working class, your lower middle class, who are most likely going to be born and die in those classes. Yeah, they might have some nice things. They might live a comfortable life, but they're going to be born, live, and die in those classes. This is why those people, your children, some of you, definitely your friends and relatives, sound like rich white elite men. Because it was a concerted effort to get people to sound and think and feel like them, even if they will never be in those positions. Right? Even if they will never be in those positions. It's actually pretty damn genius. It's like evil muhaha, shout out to Sarge Willie Pete, muhaha type conversation. And so many people just eat that up. They're using economics to discipline you like you're a child. Right? Stop asking for that toy called, a 32-hour work week. Stop asking for that. No. For the ladies, stop asking for more, childcare time and whatnot. Stop asking for that. No. You know what? Let me choke you out so you can stop asking. You could be happy with the crumbs that you get. And that's contrary to popular belief, right? Popular belief would have you believe that the more they choke you out, the more you ask for, the more you demand. Actually, the more they choke you out, the more you become pacified, and the less you ask for, the less you demand. And when I say you, I mean all of us. That's Mr. Z included. Let's be very clear. Right? Now you understand how we got to where we are. These people have contempt for you. And they see you as nothing but a battery. I say the women look at you as nothing but a walking wallet. Well, these people do too. Right? Leave it to the experts who have contempt for you. Right? They are ants, right? That's how they think of us. You know, and it's always under the guise of doing something lofty and something that's going to better society, or it's an emergency. We can't pay you more, and we can't raise minimum wage, and you know the most fascinating thing isn't the economists or the business owners speaking that way. It's everyday 9 to 5 people speaking like that. Oh yeah, man, they can't raise minimum wage because minimum wage is supposed to be for children anyway. That's supposed to be for the teenagers anyway. Who lives off a minimum wage, right? It's not supposed to be for us anyway, right? Let me see if I can hurry up and play this second clip for you guys again before this light turned green.
With monetary austerity, increasing interest rates, which in Britain caused a recession. So this is the whole point, is that it was known that the increase in interest rates would cause a recession. But this was kind of somehow politically intelligent because it caused an increase in unemployment rate, which of course meant that, and this I have all the graphs, show that this meant a complete appeasing of industrial arrest. All these strikes stopped because of this increase in unemployment rate. And this is Michael Kalecki telling us clearly that the disciplinary mechanisms of increasing unemployment is what guarantees the end of the questioning of wage relations and the acceptance of lower wages. So while in Britain, what happened was that,
Right. So once again, when you hear her saying appeasing, hear pacified, read pacified, because that's more what she means, right? So clearly these people know what they're doing. Obviously, I mean, they literally went to school for that, right? And Trell is killing me. And Trell says, let them eat cakes. No, excuse me. Let them eat cake. Problem is, I like eating cake. Giggity. Right? And no placeholder. Thank you for the super sticker. Thank you for the super sticker, right? But yeah, so I want to be very clear what we're dealing with. These people are going to attempt, at least in my estimation, right? So once again, oh, how did I not give this disclaimer in the beginning? Mr. Z is a YouTube scholar, right? Right. So don't. This is just opinion. Oh man, I'm sounding like Yanni right now. Jesus. Okay, this is just my opinion, right? Of and what I predict is that as automation hits, these people try to close the door and lock it behind them, right? They're going to use their understanding of economics, AI, automation to attempt to close the door and lock it behind them. And so for some of the people that are kind of anti UBI, because they're like, I don't like this. I think they're gonna try to choke us out and then have us accept UBI, and that way you'll be able to be able to eat. Yes, you will be able to shelter and house yourself. Yes, but you will never be able to challenge these people financially. And the question is, can we do it really now? But whole different conversation. Actually, let me go park over there. But yeah. So yeah, these people use economics to regulate, to pacify, right? So when I say, often, the hippie movement, the civil rights movement, the women's rights movement, LGBTQ movement, environmental movement, all of these things, anti-war movement, all of these things happening in the 50s and 60s, in early 70s, these people use their concepts of economics to regulate people. Well, now Mr. Z feels vindicated, to be frank, right? And no placeholder says, and this is actually a funny comment, no placeholder says, let the rich do, quote, let the rich do what they want, because when I become rich, I don't want anyone to tell me what to do. Not taking into account how giving unfettered power to the current rich is a bad idea. Then no placeholder. Continuing that, because, and I've said this before also, Americans, not just black people, but Americans think of ourselves as temporarily embarrassed millionaires, right? Like we gonna win the lottery tomorrow, or our business venture is gonna hit tomorrow, and it's not gonna be no little hit. No, we mean like I'm a blink and I'm gonna be a billionaire, right? And that idea, and it's also the American dream. And the American dream, you know, which is funny because George Carlin says you have to be asleep to believe in it, which is true as hell. It's in theory, it's not bad. And that's where you get some of the concepts of meritocracy from, et cetera, right? You work hard, you keep your head down, you do the right things, and you will achieve greatness. Or at least if you don't achieve absolute greatness, you'll still be pretty okay. It's not bad. It's not a bad concept. It's not a bad thing it's not necessarily a bad thing to push on your society, especially selling that to children and the adolescent and the young adults, right? It's not a bad thing. The problem is these people don't actually even believe in it. The problem is that they're hoping that if you're one of the few, the hand selected few that make it anywhere near them, you would have been so bleached of your ideas of helping people and looking out for the working class and looking out for the poor and your family members that used to work 2 and 3 jobs. You will be so, you know, you would have worked so hard to get to where they are that your concepts and your ideas of that would have changed along the way. You won't feel the same way by the time you get up there, right? That's what they're hoping. And Better You says, the myth of upward mobility. Exactly. Right. Now, is there upward mobility in income in America? Yeah. Oh, definitely. You could definitely go from $30,000 a year to $60,000 a year. Is there upward mobility in class in America? Now, that's a different conversation. Are you going from how many people are going from $30,000 a year to $160,000 a year? Right? That's different. I can't remember what channel it was that bought a but and I actually shared it in my community tab somewhere way down in there in my community tab. I can't remember what channel it was where they interviewed people and they just was asking them, what's your current income, what's your current yearly income, and it got wider and wider, and then more and more white male the higher up you went, and pretty much everything after $80,000 a year was white. Just about everything after $80,000 a year was white. And at the very top, dun dun dun, what you thought was their white man. And I think he was at a 400,000 or it was either 2 something or 4 something, $400,000 a year. Right? But of course, does America truly have economic dynamism where people are going up and people are going down and right? So these economists, this is how they think. This is how they think about me. This is how they think about you. And remember, she's covering mainly Britain and Italy, you know, pre 1970s. She didn't even come up to this era, Milton Freeman in the 80s and whatnot. She didn't get to the Chicago Boys. She's going all the way back to the 19 teens and 1920s, 1930s. And once again, we're speaking about the lecture that Dr. Clara E. Mate gave, right? Where she compared and contrast um, austerity measures in Italy and Britain, right? And I want to also stress, when you hear liberalism, or the way she says, so she says liberal in a different way, or she means something different than what we consider liberal in America. So when we say liberal in America, we're specifically talking about left leaning politics, right? But in other places in the world, when they say liberal, they're more speaking to liberalism, a political and social philosophy that promotes individual rights, civil liberties, democracy, and free enterprise. They're really speaking about the free enterprise part of liberal. When other people around the world say liberal, and when they're speaking about liberalism, they're actually speaking about the free enterprise part of liberal, right? And free enterprise is an economic system in which private business operates in competition and largely free of state control. Largely free of state control. One more time. Largely free of state control. This is the people that try to sell you on trickle down economics. Right? And I really want to stress that, right? So austerity is not about stabilizing the economy, it's about stabilizing class relations. Read also labor relations, right? And like Trail said, measures to force everyone to their knees, essentially, right? Measures to force everyone to their knees. And better uses, please, sir, may I have a trickle? Right? Shout out to the brother AB Media. AB Media says calls it P on me economics, right? And Big Kev says, as John Stossel pointed out, many wealthy people that are social engineers also use raising the minimum wage and tighter regulations, quotes, tighter regulations to destroy small and mid-sized business owners. Of course. Oh, Big Kev, hey, if the uber elite are going after regular working class people, then you gotta know the Walmarts and the big boxes are definitely doing their best to shut down mom and pop shops. And that's why, I know I come off anti-business, and that's why I always have to mitigate for that by saying I'm not anti-business. I am not anti-business. I'm not anti-black business. I'm not anti-small business. But we got to be very clear. The brothers and the sisters that's trying to start your mom and pop shop, or you have a small business, right? You're self-employed. That is not the same as what the Waltons are doing. Not even close, right? So yeah, yeah, tighter regulations only entrenches big business. When they get in there, they're the ones who sit down with the regulators to decide what's next, right? So definitely what Big Kev said, yes, right? Definitely, right? The big retailers, the Amazons, the once again the Amazons and the Walmarts, yeah, they're not at the table with the local mom and pop shop. Or even if you have, let's say you kind of doing it big in your city and you have 2 3 restaurants, right? Z's Tacos or something like that, and I have 3 4 restaurants, right, in the city or in the county. You still not you're still not at the table with these people, right? And they will do things to undermine you and act like, they'll do things to undermine you and act like they didn't even see you there. Emphasis on the act, like they didn't see you there. Act like, right? For all my game heads, especially racing game heads, when you're in somebody's way, you're hoping to sabotage them, you're hoping to mess them up. They're actually, you could tell they have a faster lap time than you do. You're clearing the lap in 1 minute 30 seconds, 1 minute 45 seconds. Let's say 1 minute 45 seconds. They're clearing the lap in 1 minute 40, 1 minute 39. And so now that they're right behind you, you're going to be in their way, hoping to mess them up. And if you do, you'll just keep on going like nothing happened. Right? Trail Sid. So you're saying if I start selling bundle and lashes that I don't have a shot, I'm saying your bundles and lashes store may not be competing with Sally's hair, and beauty shop and whatever. Right? Better Houston. I still believe Z owns a very successful chain of Popeyes in South Florida. He had chicken Baron. Yeah, right. No, the Baron of chicken he's from Dade, but he's not me. His name is Rick Ross. Right. Well, that's his entertainment name, his rapper name. So right. And that's what matters. So, I'm not gonna this stream is not gonna be too long. I'm gonna play these clips again for you guys and make my closing. But I just wanted to bring this to you guys. And I actually might put this on my insanely long list of gotta do part twos. I might be doing a part two to other quotes that she said further down, or further along in this lecture. It was a great lecture. The questions were fire even. Um, and yeah, right. And she just seems so enthusiastic about this particular topic, right? But it definitely matters. As I said, the stress, right, is real. And it wouldn't have to be this way if these people weren't playing big bank take little bank with everyone else's life. And as Anand Girgadas appropriately named his book, Winner Takes All. Not winner takes most, not winner takes disproportionate amount. No, winner takes all. Right? And like I said before, people got to see a little bit behind the curtain with COVID. And definitely post COVID, when McDonald's said, yeah, we could actually pay y'all $5 more an hour. Wait, what? Just yesterday you told us you don't got it. Right? When you realize with the PPP loans, Shout out to y'all nephews that was doing the scamming with the PPP loans, that the government had it, that the corporations had it. Well, some of the corporations, some of them were living their equivalent to paycheck, right? Terrell said, Z's Haitian tacos and barbecue nachos. We rhyming, right? And that definitely reset the way many people think about money and income and work and labor and class relations in America. And it's about time. It's about time that we think of ourselves as workers, not as temporarily embarrassed millionaires. Now, if you become a millionaire, then that's great. And Mr. Z is not about hating on the rich. But let's be very clear. Most of them got it because you don't got it. Right? And it's going to be very interesting to watch black people, you know, sabotage other black people along class lines and then talk to you about being black, right? Sabotage you around class lines, but when they get checked on their race, then they're going to tell you, kumbaya, we all black. Uh-oh. Right? So let me play these clips again and we'll close out on the other side. But yeah, you know, and I'm this is I wanted to make this video not just for the brothers, um, with me on the political left. The brothers on the political right need to hear this too. Now, the way you assess it may be different. The way you go about maybe finding a solution for you in your own individual life and for your family and for your friends and your part of the black community may be different than what I'm thinking, but yet and still. And this is something that Mr. Z been knowing. It's just good to hear the scholars talk about it, right? And kind of back you up, right? Because for those of you, y'all been hearing me say that for years. The elite, they were choking people out. This was them forcing you to tap out, right? And I started saying that before I started listening to This Is Revolution podcast, right? And Pascal gave me the concept of the 50-year counter-revolutionary movement. I've been thinking of this before I really had a good grasp on what neoliberalism did to pretty much the entire planet, but the developed world. I just didn't have the particular word for it, right? But once we start really considering what austerity is and what neoliberalism is and how they've affected America in general and then the black community in particular, Bill Clinton slashing welfare and telling black women, get it how you live, go to college. Has a couple of dollars, go to college. Has some grants and loans. Now you mean the cute chick, you build up the courage to ask her to go for a cup of coffee, and then on the first, second date, y'all talking about school, and she tell you she's $60,000 in student loan debt, and there you go. Right? And Cheryl said, Haitian tacos made with oxtail, jerk chicken, or curry goat. Now, for us, it'll be grillo and tasso, which is fried pork and fried turkey. Right? Like pork, it's like little pork bites. It's not really little, but like smaller pork bites and turkey. That's grillo and tasso. Right. That would be Jamaican. Jamaican. That's definitely Jamaican tacos. Oxtails, jerk chicken, and curry goat tro. Yeah, that's Jamaican tacos. Which, by the way, that jerk chicken, that's the thing. Jerk chicken tacos. Hey, y'all don't steal my idea or the ideas that we playing around with here, right? And better use it. The solution is choke their ass back, sleep them in the face, look them in the eye as you spit in their mouth. Bottom don't know passive lay. I'm about it, but you got to know that the problem with being in poverty and being poor in working class is you don't have that wiggle room to sit at home for a month or two or three or six, right? The people further up would have to be passing some of those dollars back to float you and them. They would have to have a reserve of money to be like, I know Z gonna get fired, right? Or I know better you gonna get fired. Let me put myself in the position to float all of us while we fight the good fight, right? And not only this, you would also have to be prepared to know you're probably not going to get this in one generation. This is a multi-generational fight. So you might win certain battles, make certain you might be able to have them make certain concessions, but the overall you know paradise or the promised land, you may not get there. Not in your lifetime, at least. Maybe your children, maybe your grandchildren's lifetime. But the really equal pay for equal work, probably not. Right? But I definitely agree with you about fighting this back. And you can argue that the apathy that particularly young people are showing in this system is their way of fighting back, even if they're not consciously doing it, right? It's not something that's in a front of their mind, but their apathy, right, may be the cause of this system. Many millennials and Gen Z watch their parents lose home during the housing recession. Then they watch their older siblings, lose jobs during the COVID recession, right? From the dot-com bubble to the housing recession to the COVID recession. I mean, right? So exactly, perfect statement. And better use is hell, quiet quitting, rock they ass. All it is doing the job description, no extra. Exactly. Exactly. And that's these young folks saying, but why not? Why should I be loyal to you when you're not loyal to me? Why should I put it if you want to fire me, you ain't gonna give me no 2 weeks notice? Especially for those of us that work in right to work states. But I have to give you a 2 weeks notice when I found a better job and I'm out of here? No. Why should I go above and beyond this job description? You're not gonna pay me any extra. I'm not getting a promotion. And if I do get a promotion, it's after 5, 6, 7 years of busting my butt. Yeah, no. Right. So let's play these two clips again, and we can make our closing. Here we go.
Appears clearly is that the emergence of the expert as this unbiased, above class truth owner of the truth came hand in hand with a very classist ambition of disciplining the population by using economics as this apolitical weapon that could tell people you have nothing to contribute here because you're ignorant, you're stupid, leave the economic sphere to the expert. We will tell you what is good for everyone. And with
how did I forget to say that earlier? Apolitical weapon when it's really actually very political. When you ever watch these news segments and they say, let's leave politics out of it, but all they're doing is talking around the politics, right? apolitical. Their politics has nothing to do with this, but it has everything to do with this, right? And it may be unbiased in the way, and when we say unbiased, I mean not particularly left leaning or not particularly right leaning. As a matter of fact, the elites on top are both Democrat and Republican, air quotes liberal and air quotes conservative, but they're in agreement to keep your ass regulated, to keep you from asking and demanding more, right? Indigo Flow got me dying. He said, instead of corn or flour, button peze, right? Which is plantains, fried plantains, y'all. So like cut up fried plantains, right? But it's not the sweet ones, right? It's not sweet, right? But yeah, so you know, I'm glad I caught that before I ended the stream. I made mental note, and it was actually in my notes of making mention of the apolitical tool. Apolitical, yeah, no, it's very political actually. It's very political. These people are playing in our faces, and they've been playing in our faces for at least 50 years, at least. Once again, shout out to Pascal Robert and TIR. This is Revolution for the concept of the 50-year counter-revolutionary movement. And it's just the elite saying, yeah, y'all didn't ask for too much, y'all did too much, right? And like Dr. Clara has said, Dr. Mate said, y'all leave this to us. Y'all leave this to us, you big dummies, leave it to us. We'll figure this out. And if it just so happens to screw you over, so be it. Right? That's the other part of the statement. That's the dot dot dot. That's the quiet part of the statement. Leave it to us. We'll take the lion's share, and we may, emphasis on may sprinkle some crumbs down your way just to shut you up. And that's heavy on the may. Right? And let's play the second clip. This one I really like also.
With monetary austerity, increasing interest rates, which in Britain caused a recession. So this is the whole point of that. It was known that the increase in interest rates would cause a recession, but this was kind of somehow politically intelligent because it caused an increase in unemployment rate, which of course meant that, and this I have all the graphs, show that this meant a complete appeasing of industrial arrest. All these strikes stopped because of this increase in unemployment rate. And this is Michael Kalecki telling us clearly that the disciplinary mechanisms of increasing unemployment is what guarantees the end of the questioning of wage relations and the acceptance of lower wages. So
right. So once again, when she says appease, here pacify, right? And as she said before, contrary to popular belief, when they take more off the table, you demand less because they're choking you out, right? And it's a slow choke out. And they tell you we just don't got it. We ain't got it like that. We can't just be throwing money like that around, right? And we believe in competition. Y'all believe in competition. So why did y'all save the big banks then, instead of letting them go bankrupt and letting another entity come up in their place? Oops. Right? Y'all can't just throw money around. Y'all threw money around to the big corporations and to the big companies, not just the PPP loan for air quote small business. No, y'all were throwing big money at the big businesses, right? Big money. We were getting what little $2,000 checks, little $1,600 checks. Y'all were throwing billions at the big companies. Yeah, and better uses cough cough military budget increased beyond what they asked for. The official military budget is what, somewhere around 700 $800 billion. That's on paper. That's not the black budget. That's on paper, right? And once again, disciplinary measures, using economics to discipline the masses. Like I said before, always remember, whenever brothers get in a bag and sisters get in a bag about money and economics, oh, financial literacy, remember it's a social science. Yes, numbers are involved. Economics is a social science. Y'all should have never let me find that out when I was in college. Oh, this thing ain't hard. It's not a hard science. Oh, it's a social science. Oh, y'all done messed up. Once I learned that, I was like, okay, y'all could cut the crap. And the economists get to interpret different things. The economists that work for the White House or that advise the politicians, right? And Indigo Flow says, might as well be magic, lol, economics. Exactly. And y'all get to decide on, well, we could do it this way. Yeah, but the profit margin, though, right? And Charles Irby says, don't forget the blank check emergency fund. Exactly. What's our limit? What's that? Right, right. What's our limit? Yes. I love those memes um that say stuff like that. Like, they ask a question and the person just says yes, or just make a statement and the person just says yes. And that literally means like anything goes, right? Everything. Whatever, right? And says Trell says economics deal people and their motivations. Anything that has to account for humans is squishy science. Exactly. And Better You says, I want it, you got it. Don't make me go in your pockets. BG, right? BG actually does have some dope ass music. BG was my favorite member of Cash Money for a little while. Yes, even more than Juvie for a couple years. For a couple years, right? Right. I yeah, that Cash Money is an Army, better yet a Navy. That was one of my favorite songs for a little while, right? But yeah, so we'll end it out there. We'll end it out there, and I just wanted to bring this to you guys. Shout out to BGS for sending this to me. Yes, BGS, I listened to the whole thing, right? Um, yeah, and shout out to Dr. Clara E. Mate. Great lecture. She seemed enthusiastic. It was a great presentation. Yeah, I like this type of stuff, yo. Right? And like I told you, oh, wait a minute. You know what we didn't talk about? The women's. Wait a minute. Mr. Z did a whole hour plus stream and he didn't mention the women's. Right? No, Mr. Z did not mention the women's. So yeah. So we'll pause right here. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. Um definitely send this to people so they can know what the hell are y'all talking about. Right? Have these people, you be like, what are you talking about? Right? I might have to go for financial literacy, which, by the way, I do think financial literacy is important. You know, you always got to mitigate for these things. Let me say this again. Financial literacy is important. But what are you being financial literate about when you make pennies? Number one. Number two, it's a answer. It's not the answer. Right? And once again, you still got to have money. Right? So we'll truly pause right there. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. Y'all go check out other Black Manosphere content, other non-Manosphere content. So we'll pause right here. Love, peace, and chicken grease. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. Mr. Z out. All right, everyone.